Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? So we're going to continue on with the top 10 category teams in Dokkan Battle according to Karilu2 and trashguybob over on Reddit based on their recent post. And I wanted to go ahead and cover this one and get this out of the way because I know this is going to stir up some conversations in the comment section, and we'll go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. Alright, so this team build suggested is including the Turles unit as well as the Burai unit. However, you do have to understand this post was based on purely a mathematical calculation standpoint. So these guys were basically trying to figure out what the highest attack per turn, or I guess they call it APT, is based on each of these categories. Now, what that represents, I'm not a rocket scientist or anything, but the term attack per turn, I mean, it sounds like basically maximizing the attack stats or damage, applied per turn. So that's basically where that APT comes from. So of course, the two units that don't necessarily fall in the category there are basically serving as floaters to support that maximization of either attack or damage applied. So that's pretty much the sole reason why these guys were included. Now, is this a practical team to run? You'd be the judge of that, and I'm not going to suggest it one way or the other. When I first saw the list, I mean, I kind of had, that was one of those things that immediately popped up for me. But again, this is based on purely an APT standpoint, is what I guess they call it. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way, and then we can talk about the rest of the units. So the team build itself on this Potara category is, highlighted by, of course, Tech Vegito Blue. We all know how good this guy actually is when the battle itself is dragged out. So he's got the ability to raise attack and defense based on the super attack, so you can continuously stack both attack and defense. So that is a very, very good skill set to have in longer battle settings. Infinite Dragon Ball history is long enough to where that benefits and provides value. So of course, with that, also has the ability to great chance to launch up to 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance to become a super attack. Attack increase of 15% with each attack performed up to 150%. So again, all of that comes into play here, and that's why he's considered one of the hardest hitters in this category team setup. Now, next up, we have another highlighting heavy hitter, which is LR Vegito unit. Of course, this guy is also very good. Pre-transformation raises attack for 1 turn and causes mega colossal damage to enemy with the 18 key super attack. Passive skill, attack and defense increase of 120% of the starter turn, and then key +2 in addition per rainbow key sphere obtained. Of course, with the HP going down below 50%, starting from the 6th turn from the start of battle, you have the transformation mechanic take place and transforms into Super Vegito, where pretty much the real beast is pretty much unleashed. Now, with that being said, the super attack abilities causes colossal damage to enemy with the 12 key super attack, and then for the 18 key super attack causes mega colossal damage to enemy and also raises allies attack by 30% for 1 turn. Now, with the passive skill, of course, the fully recovers HP 1 time only, counters with tremendous power upon receiving normal attacks, and then attack and defense increase of 150% at the start of turn, key +3 in addition per rainbow key sphere obtained. Next up, we have the physical type Super Vegito unit, causes immense damage to enemy and raises allies attack by 30% for 1 turn with the super attack. Passive skill, damage received from normal attacks minus 50%. 50% if that didn't sound clear enough. Counters with tremendous power plus an additional attack increase of 10% with each attack received up to 100%. So obviously this guy will get stronger the more times he gets attacked. Next up, we have the LR Goku unit from the Super Battle Road reward. Now, this guy does get the secondary leader skill boost, which is 90% to intelligent types. So with this guy, mainly, again, the next 3 units being covered are pretty much supporting floaters to help out in the rotation. So this guy, obviously, we're not going to talk about the 18 key super ability to raise super type allies attack by 30% for 1 turn, because this guy is always going to be on a floater position, so you're never going to really benefit from that. However, with the passive skill, he does provide super type allies key +2 attack and defense increase of 30%. The medium chance to evade enemy attack, that's more or less damage mitigation here at this point, but on top of that, super type allies also do get a further attack and defense increase of 20% when HP is 50% or below. Next on, so we're going to talk about the two units that are a little bit out of place, but from an APT calculation standpoint, it certainly does make sense. So this is going to be the Turles unit. We'll just talk about the passive all allies key +3, attack increase of 40%, and then super type enemies attack minus 15%. Alright, and then finally, Burai unit is going to be all allies key +3, attack increase of 40%. Now this chick does have the ability to evade enemy attacks based on, you know, the amount of Peppy Gal's category allies on the team. Obviously that doesn't really apply in this sense, but now that we got all the units covered and talked about all the stuff, of course I highlighted the beginning of the video by talking about basically I expect a lot of conversations to take place about how you know, Turles and Burai are included on the team, and honestly, in the last video, trashguybob kind of warned me about that, so I thought it was kind of funny because I actually, you know, when I was reading through the list of units and list of category teams that were on the original Reddit post, that was certainly something that popped out immediately, but, you know, after thinking about it for a split second, it certainly makes sense. I mean, we're essentially talking about maximizing the impact of each unit per rotation, or per turn actually, and it certainly does make sense in that regard. Now, Burai is a little bit of a tricky one because she doesn't necessarily link that well with any of the units necessarily. At least Turles has Fierce Battle, where you do get that 15% increased attack, you know, but it's quite interesting, and honestly I was a little bit surprised. This team actually did quite well. I was expecting, you know, a lot of damage and hits to be taken by, you know, the floater units, but they surprisingly did pretty well. And of course you had to mitigate it at times with item usage and whatnot, but overall you do see an impact for the rest of the units, like the Vegito units. You certainly see the benefit of including those units on the team. So you know, in hindsight, it certainly does make sense as to why those units were included and why the calculations were based on what they were. So, you know, again, I did highlight it in the last video, but you know, I certainly do appreciate the time and effort taken into, you know, making a list like that, because I'm sure a lot of effort was taken into consideration for all of the various units and the categories, and, you know, maximizing the optimization of units to include. So, you know, shout out to Kariru2 and trashguybob for you know, providing that. It's definitely very interesting to not only read it but also see it firsthand how the team itself performs. So hopefully you guys are also enjoying the video as well, and yeah, enjoying the content so far. Now looking back on this, yeah, certainly didn't have to use an item at this point, because Vegito Blue actually does at this point, I mean, his defense was already pretty good, because obviously with every super attack, both the attack and defense do stack. So in this sense, it wasn't really necessary, but, you know, rather be safe than sorry, you know, in all honesty. So that's really what it came down to. Alright, so we got the second set fusion to take place, or, you know, the Potara fuse, or whatever the correct terminology is for it, but now we get to see every turn how good these guys are. Now Super Vegito, the physical type, is actually doing quite well as well. I think the attack stats upwards of 2 million, and then of course the LR Vegito unit is in the, you know, 3 million plus 4 million region, I assume, at this point. So yeah, they're all doing very, very well, and it's quite interesting. Again, a lot of it, you know, the way the rotations were suggested and recommended is based on, you know, how they link up together, what kind of links they share, and how they do overall as a function. You know, if we look through it, of course, like Tech Vegito Blue, like you're looking at, you know, Super Saiyan links and, you know, Fuse Fighter, stuff like that. You've got the same link shared with the LR Vegito unit. Looks like another one is Power Bestowed by God. That's really a flat rate of 2,500 to attack, but every link, you know, shared, I guess, counts. On top of that, of course, you have, you know, Fierce Battle. That's also 15%, so that does make quite a difference as well. And when you have like the LR Goku unit on the same rotation as LR Vegito, of course they have Legendary Power that they share. That's a flat rate of 5,000 to attack when SA is launched. But, you know, the overall scheme of it, I mean, they mesh pretty well. And, a lot of it is helped out by a lot of the key links that are shared in some cases. So, that certainly does help. Super Vegeta obviously has Super Saiyan. Fuse Fighter, Power Bestowed by God, Fierce Battle obviously as well. And Prepare for Battle is also one that both the Vegito versions share. So that actually does help out quite a bit in terms of maximizing, making sure not only the 12 key, super attacks with, the normal TUR units, but also, helps out tremendously with, the ease of getting the 18 key super with the LR Vegito units as well. So, overall, it's an impressive build. Now, would this work in a setting like the Legendary Goku battle? I think you would definitely have to make some adjustments here in terms of, Turles and Burai included on the team. I think obviously you would have to replace those units with, other, more practical units. But Infinite Dragon Ball History event is a difficult enough stage and long enough stage to where it's a worthwhile area to really test some units out and teams themselves. So, I think it's appropriate to be tested here, and it kind of represents bottom line is better testing ground than like Boss Rush is. It's a little bit, it became a little bit obsolete ever since Infinite Dragon Ball History came out. I certainly prefer to test out units in this setting versus Boss Rush nowadays because, it's a little bit more tougher. That's probably what it comes down to. The only problem with the Infinite Dragon Ball History event is the fact that it's only one enemy per battle. So the problem you run into is if certain units have a condition based on, two or more enemies type deal, you're not going to be able to see that impact based on this setting. So, of course, both this and the Legendary Goku event, you're only fighting one enemy at a time. So that's the only drawback with those two environments, I guess you can say. But yeah, overall, they're very solid. A lot of attack applied, a lot of high attack stats and damage applied per turn. So it certainly makes sense why they were recommended as such. And of course, bottom line is you could create your own variations of this and come up with your own alternatives to, either Turles or Brub. There's plenty of other units that you could include that fall into that category that have a supporting function. So, test it out sometime, see how it works out for you, and let everybody know. I guess the better question is if you were to run this team, who would you replace who with, and what would you run? That's probably another conversational opener. You know what I mean? That's probably a good way to start some discussions, I guess, in the comment section. So again, I said I expect a lot of activity in the comment section, so certainly feel free to fire away, whether that's positive, negative, it doesn't really matter. Discussions are discussions, so that's the whole point of an open forum platform anyway. So again, fire away with all the comments you have with this setup. But at the end of the day, I am thankful and grateful for Kariru 2 and Trash Guy Bob. I think that's the right name, right? I hope I'm saying it correctly. Yeah. So thanks to those guys for providing the list itself, because it is quite interesting at the end of the day. But yeah, we're at the very last battle, and for the most part, they've been relatively stable. Now, there's been a couple of instances where either the evasion kicked in or, item is used to mitigate damage here and there, but overall, these guys did pretty well. I was a little bit worried initially. I thought, the floaters might take a little bit too much in damage and end up costing the team, you know what I mean, with the KO or whatever, but, they did fine, I think, overall. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use the Android 8 item here. Not really probably something that's needed, but again, items are available, might as well use them, is the philosophy here. So probably going to be able to close this out in this turn, honestly, with the amount of attacks coming up, with the counters and additional supers and all that good stuff. Probably going to finish up on this turn itself. But again, thanks to those guys for providing the list itself for the top 10 category teams as of 7 days ago, I guess. But yeah, we'll definitely continue the series and cover the rest of the category teams. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. Again, I wanted to cover this one because there was certainly an elephant in the room, but Hopefully you guys enjoy the video nevertheless. Thanks for watching, and I'll certainly catch you guys later. All right, peace out.